Welcome to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm going to be talking about the episode The Gift, which guest starred Ron Howard. If you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe and stay tuned for a special message from Jon Walmsley, who is celebrating a birthday. So happy birthday, Jon. It was such a thrill to have Ron Howard as a guest on the Waltons. I had watched him from early beginnings of his career on the Andy Griffith Show and various different other shows. Loved him in The Music Man when he played the young boy who couldn't quite get his S's out and had to keep saying Amaryllis. He was just such a talent right from the beginning of his career. And this was sort of in between doing those early things as a child and right before he started doing Happy Days, and of course went on to do all kinds of brilliant work, both in front of the camera and behind the camera. So a real treat to have him. And as many of you might have noted, there's some real similarities between Jon Walmsley and Ron Howard. They do share a little bit of red hair. They have some similarity in look. And in this particular shot here, where they're listening to the radio as Ron's father, Red, Ron plays Seth Turner, and his father, Red Turner, is playing on the radio. And Jason and Seth sit next to each other, and they're both wearing variations of red and blue plaid shirts, and they both have denim on. And I found myself wondering if that was an intentional thing on the part of the wardrobe department. I asked Jon about working on this episode with Ron Howard and any particular memories. He said he'd always watched Ron Howard and enjoyed his work and been told for years that he looked like Ron Howard, and in fact had auditioned opposite him a few times. He always hoped he might be able to do the Andy Griffith Show, but he never got a chance. He said he auditioned for some Disney movie that Ron got, and he said the first day that Ron came on the set, Ron came up to him and said, "Oh, you're the boy I always get told I look like." And Jon was very touched by Ron making that comment to him. A special moment for me when I got to dance with Ron Howard. I can say I danced with Ron Howard as we got up and enjoyed the music on the radio. Seth is going to carve a recorder for Jason. Grandpa refers to a recorder as a wiffle flute or something like that, which I thought was kind of cute. I'd never heard that term before. But it is when they go out to try and find the right wood for that Seth first really exhibits the serious nature of whatever it is that his illness is. And of course, we go on to find out that it is leukemia. There is no cure for that. There's nothing they can do. Interesting point that Dr. MacGyver's in this episode, who gives them the bad news, is played by Ron's actual father, Rance Howard, who recurred in a few episodes as Dr. MacGyver. So that was kind of a fun little family reunion there on set too. Nice to have extra members of the Howard family. Quite a talented family, I would say. There was an interesting and lovely contrast that was developed in certain aspects of this episode when Jason is very upset and runs up to his room. Some of the kids are actually putting a puzzle together in his room, and he knocks it away and then has a bit of a meltdown there, throws things around the room when he has found out that his good friend is dying. So contrasting the game that the kids are playing with the tremendously emotional situation that Jason's going through. There was a lot of really wonderful emotional work done in this episode, both by Jon Walmsley and by Ron Howard, and then the actor playing his father, Red Turner. So a lot of people had to dig deep for this one. A couple of times in the episode, I was moved by the fact that John Boy and Jon have a conversation about dying, and the fact that Seth is dying, and Jon talks about how he feels about about dying. Later in the episode, Grandpa, Will Geer, has also a conversation about dying. And it was very emotional for me to watch this and watch both Ralph and Will talking about dying, and from a standpoint of the fact that neither of them are with us anymore and what they meant to me in my life. So to hear them speaking, even through scripted words, about their views about death, it hit me. Something that actors often have to deal with, just from a technical standpoint, is putting things in camera frame. So when Jason is untying this recorder, I noticed that it's likely that he was holding that a little higher than might be natural in the doing of that. It's entirely probable that on our own we would do that much lower, but see, you can't see that here where my hands are. So oftentimes with things, we hold them in a position that doesn't feel natural to us, but allows them to be within the frame of the camera, so it makes a better shot. Otherwise, the shot has to be wider so that you can take in an action. So we will cheat it for close-ups. In the longer shot, you can often have something lower, but when we get into the close-ups, you got to raise it up so the camera can get it. You also have zoom shots. In this case, it goes from a wider shot of the recorder to push in, zoom in. Nowadays, they usually don't zoom with the camera as a zoom, but they will move the camera instead. They'll push, literally take the whole camera in closer to get something or bring it all back. But with those zoom shots, there still is, even when you're moving things, there is one camera person actually operating the camera, who is the camera operator, and he will have an assistant, at least this is how we worked on the Waltons, who is adjusting the focus all the time. We call that a focus puller. They have measured what the distance is to each one of those spots they're going to hit, and they are adjusting focus then with a device at the camera so that as the camera moves, they are keeping that manually in focus all the time. There's no such thing as autofocus. So it's a whole team there that's making this shot happen. I've been asked because of that, since Jason Walton was carved on there, if Jon Walmsley kept the recorder. I asked him recently about that, and he said no, he did not keep the recorder. It was not offered to him to keep, I'm sure. But he did say that he did play the recorder. He had played flute at some point. He plays all kinds of instruments, and pretty much anything you ever saw him play on the Waltons, he played for real. In this case, he learned to play the recorder. He said the fingering was very similar to the flute, so he was able to teach himself to play the recorder. So anytime you hear him playing the recorder in the episode, that is him. And he said, as far as he recalls, there was no playback, so nothing was pre-recorded and then played back during the filming. So he was doing all of that live.
Hello there, Jon Walmsley here. Welcome to sunny Cornwall. Secret is, a little while ago it was raining, the wind was blowing, and we thought these trees would fall over. So, as they say, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. If you do like the weather, make the most of it. Anyway, great to have this chance to say hello. I've been watching Judy's YouTube channel and just so impressed at the beautiful job she's doing talking about these episodes. And as some of the others have said, I'm learning stuff about the Waltons that I never knew, which is pretty great, actually. This video that I'm doing here is part of her presentation of The Gift, one of my favorite episodes with Ron Howard as guest star. And it was great fun working with him. To quote Andy Griffith, if I'd known what a big deal he was going to be, I would have been nicer to him. And not really. We got along great. He's a wonderful guy and a wonderful family, the Howards. Anyway, hope all of you are doing really well. Hope you're being safe and staying well. And fingers crossed, we will all continue to be for the rest of 2021. So Best to all of you, and enjoy The Gift.
I recently reached out to Ralph Sinensky, who directed this episode, and asked him if he had any thoughts he could share with you. This is what he sent me. The Gift was the second episode I directed and was the first strong drama. I hadn't had a strong drama to direct in almost a decade. It further proved what my first episode had suggested. The Waltons was an oasis of fine drama in the current television, so mainly populated with action-oriented crime stories. Although it was a very sad story about a young boy learning he has leukemia, I considered it a story of the Walton family, all of them from the youngest Elizabeth to Grandpa Walton, facing the subject of death. Now to go behind the camera. I had an opening sequence of John Boy, Jason, and Seth. I knew it would probably be scheduled to be filmed on Warner Brothers' back lot, but I felt with the somber material ahead, I wanted air and space to open the story, and I knew where I wanted to film it, Franklin Canyon, a lush location in the hills above Beverly Hills with a large reservoir lake that I had filmed several times. And with a day there were additional scenes in the script that would benefit by filming there rather than on the back lot. I asked executive production manager Neil Maffio if I could have a location day in the canyon. He made a deal with me. He said if I could film the show in 6 days rather than the 6.5 days usually assigned, I could have it. I immediately accepted his offer. He further gave me a big camera crane. In Earl Hamner's book, Goodnight, John Boy, Jon Walmsley wrote, Ron told me that The Gift was his favorite episodic performance and that he had landed a starring role in The Shootist, John Wayne's latest film, as a result of the producers watching The Gift. I know that Mary Ellen, Aaron, Ben, and Grandma didn't get to be involved in the story away from the kitchen table, but Carol McKeon's script, it was her first to be produced, covered the other 7 members of the Walton family, plus Seth, Ron Howard, his mother, father, and his doctor. I thought it was inspired casting for the doctor, who provided the information that Seth has leukemia with no hope of surviving, had only one scene with John Boy, was played by Rance Howard, Ron Howard's father. So those were some thoughts from Ralph Sinensky, our director. I want to thank John for sending me that video to share with all of you. Happy birthday, John, and thank you all for watching this episode of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons, The Gift. I'll see you next time.